Oh my goodness, we're live. I don't even know what to do. Guys, I don't know if you all watched Scarlet and Great back in the day, but we got the band back together tonight. I couldn't be happier to be with my brother, Mr. Johnny Lunsford. Love you, my brother. You are always been my brother, and I can't say it enough. I'm so happy you recorded with me. Johnny, how are you doing, man?
I'm good, dude. Ohio State is the undisputed national champs. How else could I be? Brother, since we've been friends, this is our first title together. It's the first title of the infamous Twitter group chat. It feels, I guess, it doesn't feel like it's been that long, but it was a while. It was a while. A lot had passed. I'm great, dude. I'm great. Thanks for having me. It feels good to talk to you again on
Yeah,
a live
absolutely.
mic.
I've been wanting to record with you more. I mean, that's just I know we got our lives. You're a father of two, man. When I first met you, you barely you didn't even have a beard. So,
Yeah, I was in the Navy. I'm father to about 5,000 people on Twitter and then two beautiful kids here at home. So yeah.
so man, wow, so many things changed. If any of us don't know us, I think we met back in like 2017 when JT Barrett was still quarterback,
17. Yep. I
and
bought this microphone right here right before the 17th season, said I'm on a podcast. I heard Cory, he had his own. And then you know,
his
we
rest
joined
is
up.
history. Right?
hmm
As I say, started off with audio, went to YouTube, and I forever apologize for that. And
Got worse as time went on.
yeah, exactly. Hey, Lacey, how you doing? Saying hi to some people. People are filing in. We appreciate you for being here. Buckeye Therapy with a pretend YouTube therapist and myself. Uh, I've given Johnny many counseling sessions. That explains a lot as to what's wrong with him. And yeah, it's completely changed. But Johnny, we're here to talk about some Buckeye stuff going on, man. And we have to be the funnel for Buckeye Nation right now. They're in panic mode, Johnny. We're losing all these coaches. Everything's in shambles. Columbus is on fire. Ryan Day's lost the program. I'm kidding, obviously, but actually, Ryan Day's living his best life right now,
Yeah.
clearly. But
I don't think anyone's even told him about the coaching
yeah,
turnover.
he's
He's
probably
still,
like, what, we lost Jim Knowles. What?
I think he's doing Jimmy Kimmel tomorrow. So he's just unbothered.
Yeah, exactly. He's talking about possibly lost Jim or yeah, lost Jim Knowles. Then he lost Justin Fry. Then he lost Chip Kelly. And let's start off real quick. Jim Knowles is the only one that kind of surprised me.
hmm
Could you agree with that? Like Jim Knowles is the only one. Like, wait, what? Where'd that come from?
I didn't think Fry would move on this soon, but I mean, he wasn't we didn't even know if he's the guy till a couple weeks ago. And even then, we're still like, did we just run counter a lot to save you? But as well as I do that coaches in these programs, especially in the NFL, when they do hires, they do zero homework. I mean, NFL organizations, it's insane how bad they are at it. You pointed my eyes to GMs how bad they were years ago. But yeah, I mean that was a little shocked. But Knowles was definitely when I saw people saying like Knowles might, and I was like, no, he's not, and then he did. So
When people were saying Knowles to Penn State, I was like, that can't be right. Really?
I still don't think it's right. Like I'm just waiting for Ashton Kutcher to pop down a lot in a couple weeks and like I punked.
Man, that's a long game there, Ashton. Good on you, buddy. um, for Chip Kelly, it's a different story. I've gone over the Jim Knowles stuff. He's gone. It is what it is. I can't wait till November 1st when we beat the living crap out of him. I'm going to enjoy that. I will say that the players seem a lot more upset about him than they do the other coaches. I'm just going to put that out there. They players have been a little bit nasty online about it, but they wished Justin Fry well. I hate losing Fry, but I wonder if he was like maybe in the corner, in the fetal position in the corner when Josh Simmons went down and, peeing down his leg and Tim Drebno came in. I got it, dude. Just whatever. I'm just kidding, obviously. But, I mean, look, Chip Kelly, Tim Drebno, both experienced guys with Justin Fry, who, he's not a bad coach. You got to believe all the collaboration there. Plus Ryan Day probably like, guys, can we please get this? We're not going to win an Natty if we don't get this right. But he's going to the Cardinals. He's always wanted to be an NFL guy. He doesn't want to recruit. Okay, that's fine. Chip Kelly, dude, you get $6 million to be a coordinator. You'd be dumb not to take it.
Yeah.
I got nothing against Chip Kelly. I was like, look, I love Buckeye Nation. I love the Buckeyes more than anybody. I will put that up against anybody. You triple my salary from $2 to $6 million. Goodbye.
He can still get to be a Buckeye fan because he's going to be in the NFL. Like, you root for the Buckeyes every time they play.
Exactly.
And no recruiting, no NIL. You know, you only have to worry about arrests and, you know, drug busts.
Well, yeah, but he don't have to worry about it. I didn't recruit
him. Right. I didn't draft him. So, no, it's great. I mean, honestly, the NFL is so – college gigs are tough right now, man. We talked about this earlier. I don't begrudge any coach ever that leaves, unless you leave like in the midst of a scandal and you were trying to leave for years and then you got busted and then you left.
Man,
then
there's sound like?
It's just a.
Do you have any recent examples of that? I mean, that doesn't sound like it's ever happened.
A head coach that couldn't get it done, then got it done, but they were getting busted and then they left. No. That's just a hypothetical.
Nobody comes to mind on that.
No,
one?
But if they did, that would be a dirty thing to do. But you know, Chip Kelly doing it. You know, I mean, I don't want to deal with even before NIL in the portal recruiting. NFL's a way better gig. But yeah, just say Chip gets to go do what he said he wanted to do, is just coach ball and not be a CEO.
He literally does get. Eric loves this. He literally does get to say next man up. Oh, Jalen or Henry Ruggs went 160 mile an hour and killed somebody. Okay, next man up.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like, I mean, I'm just saying. He literally GMs gets my players. I just try to make them good, and I'm trying. And sometimes the GM screws up. But you know, imagine being at a college level coach and you're sitting there every Jeremiah Smith, your leading receiver. You're like, I got to re-recruit him. He's on our team. I thought this was done. What do you mean I got to re-recruit him? Miami's tampering with his family. I got to do something. Oh, come on, guys. I can't keep recruiting you. You know, this is ridiculous. I'm not saying Jeremiah's wavering or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm as an example is all.
Yeah, you can't like, what? He's mad because I yelled at him because he ran a lazy route? Like, what? Now he's going to Miami because I told him to plant his foot harder before he. Like, please, Mr. Jeremiah, will you please consider perhaps setting up the defender better?
Can you please stack him on the sideline?
And I will give you some money out of my wallet.
He's got plenty of it now.
And it's pretty much like how, I don't blame him. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd have taken Chip to stay. I can't hate him.
No, I you know what? He came and he got us a natty. He helped get us a natty. I'm not even ever going to be mad at Chip Kelly. He's a Buckeye legend now, as far as I'm concerned. But we do have to replace these coaches.
Yes.
Allegedly. I mean, Ryan Day he's so like doesn't care right now. He's just like, look, I am going to take a tour like not Led Zeppelin, but they're dead, I think. But like the Rolling Stones who keep going. Just take a tour with this trophy and just go from stadium to stadium to stadium. He actually said that he's going to take his time. But the Buckeye scoop, most reliable Buckeye scoop, never wrong. Seventh Shellman, you know, fourth Wiseman, whatever. Buckeye scoop. Whoever the fourth Wiseman is today, I don't know. Buckeye scoop said that Hartline is going to be the OC and Bill, as a Pressler, going to be the quarterback coach. I looked up Bill Pressler. I remember I was talking to you earlier, and I said, I don't know about him as quarterback coach. But I looked up his resume. It's better than when Corey Dennis got hired. So,
yeah.
But we'll get to him in a second, if this is all true. I mean, it's actually, guys, before, hold the phone. It's possible Buckeye Scoop jumped the gun a little bit on this one. I don't know if it's official yet.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, but let's operate like it's true, because I do think it's going to happen. But let's operate like it's true, right? Or maybe it's possible that this feeler get put out by Ryan Day just to see how the fan react. You know.
That dude is too busy for games. He's like, all right, one more cigar, and then I'll get back to work. One more cigar, then I'll get back to work.
Did he actually like go, Pantone, could you just hire my OC? I'll be away, you know?
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah. I'm going to be talking to Kelly Clarkson. She lost weight.
She's a good singer. That's good. That's good old-fashioned family entertainment. Anyway.
She did lose the weight, Corey. I'm proud
She
of her.
did. I will give her credit for that actually, because she was.
Well, I mean, she did put it on.
Yeah, she was reaching some unhealthy levels there, and
Yeah.
I will say that she was doing a whole thing like, I don't care how big I am, yada yada yada. I was like, listen, Kelly, I don't. Not aesthetically speaking, you just need to get healthier because it's getting a little
Yeah.
alarming. I say that about myself too. I'm like, dude, I'll look at myself in the mirror and go, dude, what's wrong with? What are you doing? Seriously, stop snacking.
And then I just remind myself, well, I'm national champion, so
Yeah, exactly. I'm a fan of a national championship team. I can do whatever.
this
I
is
want.
what a national champion's body looks like.
That's what Ryan Day's body's gonna look like in 3 weeks. But
Yeah.
he's talking. But the rumor is Brian Hartline has become the OC. Okay, fine. Johnny, tell me why that's a. We'll start with this. We're doing the good and the bad. Tell me why it's a bad idea. Start off with that.
For Hartline to be the OC?
Yeah, if he is in fact now the OC, and we're assuming he'll have play calling duties along with that.
I want to real quick. Nicholas in the chat said Fessler is from Erie, PA, which is right across the state line from out here in Cleveland, where I am. So that's cool. I've done a little fishing in Erie, PA. So that's kind of
also
cool.
where the band that thing or the from that came up with a song, that thing you do, the Oneaters.
Oh, really? The Oneaters,
they're from
Wonders,
the
Oneaters. That's underrated movie.
It is a good movie.
No, so why it's a bad thing. So I'll say, if I'm a hater, okay, this is why you can't promote Brian Hartline. He doesn't have any play calling experience. If the promise was there, if they looked at him and saw whatever Urban Meyer saw in Ryan Day, like, oh, this is the guy to be next, Ryan hasn't seen in Brian, or else he'd already handed that over to him. There has been rumors, and I'll use that it's word loosely to apologize to rumors, but that he even gave him a few situational shots in summer ball and stuff to call some plays last season, and it didn't work out so well. Ryan Day cannot be as good as he can be if he's constantly pulled back to taking care of calling the plays. We saw that. He's a great play caller, but he's not as good as he can be when he's managing everything and then trying to do that. So, Brian Hartline, as good as he is, much as we love him, great of a recruiter as he is, as cool as the backwards hat cigar picture is, and I want that pic, to be.
I think that's the picture that got him hired. Actually,
I'm gonna put this on the wall behind me. He's not an offensive coordinator, and that's just that. And we've seen, this is not a kick the tires and see training wheels program, right? This is give me a proven commodity already type of program, a la Jim Knowles, a la Chip Kelly to a degree, et cetera, et cetera. So those are the reasons why if I was a hater, I would say, no, you shouldn't do this.
Yeah, I'm, I've come around to that belief. People have been saying that for years. We're not a program you learn on the fly. Well, I kind of wonder if Ryan Day has a soft spot in his heart for people learning on the fly, because they really just handed him the reins, and he had never been a head coach anywhere. And he's like, oh, my first head coaching job is the Ohio State University. Wow, okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, my first house is a Victoria Hills mansion. It's like, what the heck?
Mm-hmm.
But he's obviously done pretty good with it in real terms. Some bumps along the road, some things that haven't been as good as we'd like, but overall he's done pretty good. 70-10 is pretty freaking good,
Yeah.
With a national championship now to boot. But again, I am with everybody. I have come full circle. This is not a place you learn on the job. I'm starting to hate that. And I've started with Corey Dennis for me, because I was very excited about that hire.
I was fine with it at the time. Full disclosure, I was.
Oh yeah, I thought, man, he's an up and comer. This is a good place to get up and comers, and here we are, like, wow, he's actually turned out to be pretty bad. And honestly, there was other problems I'm not going to get into with his coaching, but
it was really bad.
Yeah, exactly. I will say this for Pressler: he's not learning on the job with Ohio State. He's been a QB coach, been an OC. I can say, okay, you've done it at a lesser program. Now you have experience with it. Fine. But Brian Hartline doesn't have any experience calling plays. Now I get it. You don't have it until you get to do it. Okay.
Mm.
But can you do it at like Bowling Green, or do it at like West Virginia or something?
Yeah.
Can you do it somewhere and say, hey, look, I can do, look, you see the offense is amazing. And then we say, okay, now come back. I mean, with all due respect to a lot of with zero respect to a lot of other programs, zero respect, a lot of these programs can be farm systems for us.
Yeah.
I'm just being real. Okay.
I mean, Ed
So-
Werner kind of showed us that you can't just make a good position coach a play caller.
And we did, you know what? And I'm thinking back to Ed Werner and such a comparison here. Ed Werner was so good with the offensive line, not necessarily recruiting, but just good with offensive line that Meyer felt I can't lose him. It's too important. So he made him OC. Now we're kind of doing that with Hartline. Now Hartline is,
if he gets the job, yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. Hartline is in a different stratosphere as a recruiter than Ed Werner ever was.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be real. He's one of the best recruiters I've ever seen in college football, period. But do you give that? You posed a question to me earlier, and I want you to go ahead and pose it to the audience here. I think it's a fair question.
Okay.
About like, would you trade such for such?
Yeah. So the thought is, and generally, this is not a controversial thought. Is Brian Hartline's the best at what he does, and he's a great recruiter, and he's a great teacher of the game, and the wide receiver production is unmatched, and we are wide receiver U. Therefore, you cannot lose Brian Hartline. So if you're going to lose him, you have to promote him to OC so that way you don't lose him. Okay. And I said this. Well, let's think about it. You have a position coach making. I know he's co-OC. I don't think that means anything. There's no such thing as
I think it's just a way to make more money.
Yeah. I mean, you can make him do a little extra back office work, preparing things for the game and stuff, but you're not calling plays. So the thought then is, if I'm paying this kind of money and he's just a position coach, what if there is a really solid, awesome experience, maybe like Ryan Day's Beard saying here, type of guy that wants to come be the play caller, and another guy and one that wants to be an O-line coach, and he's got great credentials. Maybe they're the same guy. Maybe you get an O-line coach who calls the plays or whatever. But to do that, it costs you Brian Hartline. I would maybe argue, and this is the question, is it okay then to go ahead and lose Hartline because you got a really good offensive coordinator, you got a really good O-line coach, and you can go get a really good position coach who's a good recruiter like Zach Smith or someone like that. I'm not saying bring back Zach. I'm saying that level of production. Yeah. And isn't that better than having the best wide receiver room in the world like you did in 2021? And it still didn't really hang you any banners. So wouldn't that be better? It's a twisted. So Ken, you're saying I'll give you two options, Ken. Bad OC, bad O-line coach. Bad O-line coach. Hart stays, Andy calls the plays, and he's not very good at it. Or Hart could go and you get good OC, good O-line coach, pretty good receivers coach. What? Is that fair? Is that clear enough, Corey?
You asked me this question earlier, and you took me by surprise with it. You really did. Not that you could ask a good question. That's not what took me by surprise. But it took me by surprise that I actually heard it out and I was open-minded to it. And I was like, dang, that's actually a fair question. If I knew the OC was going to be really good, like let's say Joe Moorhead, I'm going to throw that name out there.
Yes.
Joe would be an awesome
hire. That's the standard. Yep.
And Joe Moorhead has been Akron. He apparently to Pete Narcos from, is it Pete Narcos? I don't know. From On 3. He's suggesting Joe Moorhead is actually a candidate for the job still because they haven't officially made Hartline the OC. And I'm like, I think for a guy like Joe Moorhead, because I want to fill in that hypothetical with a real guy, with a guy like Joe Moorhead, I'm thinking, I'm sorry, Brian, if you leave, you leave. Because I would absolutely take a really good wide receiver coach. Like, I mean, look, I know nobody likes the guy, or some people do, some people don't. Zach Smith, for whatever you think of him as a person, I don't care. I'm not here to debate it. But I will tell you this: he was a very solid wide receiver coach, very, very solid. In fact, he recruited well. And you say, well, look what Hartline recruits. Maybe he doesn't recruit on Hartline's level, but Zach did get us started with Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. He got Austin Mack here. He got Terry McLaurin and Terry McLaurin's
Paris Campbell was a great
and if Dixon doesn't hurt his knees, he ends up probably being a great receiver for us. He was a really good one. So, I mean, I look at it that way and I say, what if you get somebody on that level as a wide receiver coach? I would take Jewel Moorhead in a second.
And even Ken's coming around in the chat. So that's it. So you give me good recruiting O-line coach, solid play caller like Moorhead, who's probably, do we put him on the O-line? Then you get really good O-line recruits. Mm-hmm. And you give me that with a team of Paris Campbell's and Johnny Dixon's and Terry McLaurin's and Austin Mack's and
Olave and Wilson.
And Olave and Wilson. And that team can hang a banner if the O-line's good. Now, because I'll flip the script. What happens if you have a fantastic quarterback, ball placement specialist, a distracted play caller who's not on his game, and the best wide receiver core that Buckeyes have ever had ever? You know what? We had that, and it didn't work out. We had C.J. Stroud throwing the ball to Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, and Jeremy Ruckert. And, it didn't get us anything. I mean, we got a Big Ten championship in 2020 with Justin Fields, but, moving on from that, we had –
just want to say what's up, Chick. He's new here.
Hey, Chick. I'm glad you jumped in.
Yeah. Twitter. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But that's where it would be a trade. I think in my mind, honestly, I don't know anybody that would say, nope, trade that for that. The problem is I don't know that you can really ever know what you're trading in the future. But I know if Joe Moorhead and Brian Hartline both had a gun to my head and I was convinced that Moorhead wasn't going to do a one and done, that's the hard part.
Yeah, Moorhead would want to be a head coach. He would definitely want to be a head coach. I mean, I wish some of these guys would just say, look, I tried it at Mississippi State. I'm trying it at Akron. It's not working out. I can say at Ohio State, make $2.5 million a year, win national championships and Big Ten championships and be a hero.
Joe Moorhead can't be very young, can he?
I don't know how old he is. I think he's in his 50s. So, but all I know, he's been good wherever he goes as an offensive coordinator.
I mean, dude. I remember before the Oregon game, 2021, he was calling plays at Oregon. And I was really confident going in that game, but I was like, wait a second. Is it possible Joe Moorhead just tees off on Kerry Combs?
And boy, did he ever.
And I think people were like, yeah, but they're not talented like we are.
Joe Moorhead retired Kerry Combs from Ohio State.
Yeah, and I remember when he was at Penn State, dude, when Michigan had a really good defense, and he used Saquon Barkley and just played them like a fiddle. Like Joe Moorhead.
There we go. That's a good 51. He's relatively young.
I'd feel better if he was 61. I'd feel
a little better about it. Yeah,
I feel like if you've had, a dozen prostate exams, you're not going to try to move on to a new coaching gig, unless the NFL just keeps poaching our guys. That's a good standard. But yeah, I think man, if Moorhead was one of the guys or maybe even the Jason Candle guy you talked about, man, it'd be hard to say no to.
And Jason Candle would be great too from Toledo. But I think Candle would definitely be like the next day would be a head coach if he wanted to be. I mean, he would leave in a heartbeat. And I think he's a great coach, but I mean, he's not going anywhere with Toledo. So it's like, dude, come be an offensive coordinator at Ohio State. But that's another thing is Moorhead and Candle are at teams where offensive coordinator at Ohio State's actually a step up from head coach at those teams. Again, zero respect to those teams.
Yeah. So I mean, they don't either. They don't have
yeah, exactly. But let me throw another scenario at you, Johnny. Let's say that Brian Hartline gets made OC and play caller, but then they say, but this is the caveat, Brian, since you've never done this before, we need to get a guy who's tested and true to come in here and work with you on it. Because Ryan Day's saying, I got to be CEO. I got to take a step back. I got to get somebody I trust. Who does he trust besides Chip Kelly? Trust Kevin Wilson. And Kevin Wilson comes in as offensive line coach, co-OC. Brian, you're the play caller. You have final say, but you need to listen to Kevin. He's going to be in the booth with you. He can show you what he's like. Kevin, I'm going to say this right now, Johnny. I know you'll back me up. For all the Buckeye fans out there who are crapping on Kevin Wilson, what is actually wrong with you? That dude is one of the best offensive minds in the last 30 years of college football. And quite frankly, he's just as responsible for the offensive turnaround as Ryan Day is. I mean, and by the way, Kevin Wilson also has the guts to tell Ryan when he's wrong. Yeah, and I respect it. And Brian will not have that clout with Ryan Day. Brian Hartline will not yet. So I say, and yeah, Lacey, you're right. Toby Wilson's looking to get into coaching too. So you make him a GA in the offensive line assistant. Help his dad coach offensive line. Therefore, he's the offensive line coach. He's done that a million times with Oklahoma and Indiana and cups like. Let him be an assistant play caller with Brian Hartline. So Ryan Day is not like looking over his shoulders like, is Brian screwing up? Is he getting the play calling in? What about that scenario? And we keep Hartline in that case.
Oh, I think that's a great scenario. And like matter of fact, I think Brian Hartline would go, yeah, that's all I was asking for. I knew you'd probably. I'm young enough to know I need a little bit of mentorship and the feel for it. Listen. If I saw someone kind of bash on Ryan Day's play call. Listen, if you give me if I'm building a team, who I want for my play caller, Ryan Day is number one. Doesn't mean I want him to be head coach and the play caller. Yeah. I'm saying there is not a better play designer. That's the hard part. Let Brian design some cat passing concepts. Days are better. Days are better. You've seen what he had to do with fixing the offense at the end of the season, what Chip was trying to do to it. That was not Chip's offense on the championship run.
I wish Ryan Day could clone himself. Are we close to cloning at this point?
Yeah. I think Brian Hartline would go, yeah, I don't have the feel for what to call and when, what to design and when. Co-OCs aren't like you and I both know that's not really a thing because technically Brian Hartline's been the co-OC for 2 years, but it doesn't mean anything. Like you said, it just is a way to pay him. But if it's something where like, yes, you're actually learning under him and you can understand that if you're not getting it done, Kevin is actually going to have final say on the plays. I love what you brought up. Put them in the booth together. So they're very – I remember Tim Beck and Ed Werner actually leveled up when they were in the booth together when that finally happened. I love that ideal. If you could give me that right now, I'm like, get it before they change their mind, print the contract, sign it, move on, get your DC. And Kevin Wilson is the O-line coach too. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And he gets yes. And
who's the original coach for Oklahoma that got their offensive line the reputation that they have now that they've kept all these years is Kevin Wilson.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a dude. If that happens, no brainer. Like no brainer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. See, I'd be fine with Hartline as OC play caller if you bring in a Kevin Wilson to kind of mentor him along the way.
Man, Cory, just how much I love that ideal. Even if Hartline's like, look, I don't really need to be a play caller. I don't really. I'm good. And you just make Kevin Wilson the outright play caller in the offensive.
I'm fine with that too.
All good with that. We Gucci, baby.
I'll tell you, when I see Buckeye fans trash Kevin Wilson, I that tells me right there you don't know ball at all.
I haven't seen that. I think you
I've seen a few.
I've
seen a few. It isn't a lot, but and Kenneth might have a point here. I mean, Urban Meyer went from receiver coach to head coach and was a legend, obviously. Brian Hartline might just be that kind of guy. John Harbaugh, I know we bring up the Harbaugh family, but
but he did it he just had that thing in him, but he did it from Notre Dame receiver coach down the Bowling Green.
He did, but he wanted to be a head coach. And, and he made Bowling Green a winner, unlike some of these guys who are like, I'm going to go to Rutgers and make them a winner. Look what happens, I said this to you on the phone earlier today. I was like, I don't understand some of these position coaches who are like, you know what? I want to be a head coach so bad. I'm going to go coach at like, Savannah State or something. It's like, why?
Yeah. If you do your job well, something better will come along.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I never understood Halfley leaving for Boston College, other than the fact I think the talent level dropped so bad. He was like, I got to dip now because
Yeah.
he wasn't gonna pull a top 5 defense out of his butt with that crew that was after
Nah, it wouldn't be
Jim
top
Tom.
5. It could be good, but it wouldn't be top
It'd be
5.
better than what Combs did, clearly. I mean, because Halfley's an actual defensive coach, but I hate ratting on Combs, but he's a great DB coach. But my goodness, dude, coordinator was one of the worst I've ever seen.
Real
Halfley, by the
quick,
way,
Corey, I don't want to cut you off, but
no,
you
you're
just
good,
brought
buddy.
up such a good point in chat. I want your thoughts on this too, because it's actually unfair to the guy to promote him when he's to a place he doesn't need to be.
Mhm.
Because you say Kerry Combs, and I think Guantanamo Bay, Siberian War Camp. I think, and then I'm like, wait, no. He's like, what's wrong with you? He's a good DB coach. He loved being a Buckeye. He's an elite human being. He's a molder of young men. He just didn't know how to call play. You know what I mean? But now
Watching
that
his defense
legacy's
was like
tainted.
being waterboarded.
Could you imagine, dude? Could you imagine if we put Brian Hartline as an OC and he turns into Ed Werner and we ruin his legacy? Like, that's just not. You don't need to do that if they're not ready. I'm not
But
saying that is the case.
he wants it. I mean, Berm has been on this for years, and Berm's a trustworthy source. He doesn't have 7 Shalimans and whatever, but he's a trustworthy source. He has always said, look, Hartline's looking to advance. He wants to keep climbing the ladder. And what are you going to do now at Ohio State besides be a play caller? Well, I mean, what's he going to do? He ain't going to be head coach.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, if that's the case, and Berm's saying that, then yeah, you gotta.
Steely, hey, I'm with you. When Kerry Combs got hired, I was excited. And Johnny will admit this too. I always give every coach the benefit of the doubt. But I think I'm kind of leaning away from that at this point because there's been so many that have proved me wrong that I'm like, I am wait and see guy now. I was like, if Hartline's a play caller, even with Kevin Wilson mentoring him, I'm still wait and see. Like, okay, let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see.
But I wouldn't scream to fire him if he had a bad 4 games.
Eric's right, by the way.
Yeah. See, that's not. We could have left that man. Dude, he'd be coaching DBs in New England, in Gillette Stadium, and with the Tom Brady trophies and the Bill Belichick. He'd be Mike Vrabel's DC coach or DB coach right now. If we
not DC, that's for sure.
No. If we just left that man alone.
I mean, I agree, but you know what? I'll tell you what, I'm a Packers fan. I can tell you right now, I would absolutely pay $6 million a year to get Halfley as our D coordinator right now. And I don't care if it would piss off Matt G or not. I'd be like, no, Halfley's my favorite. I can tell you right now, Green Bay's defense used to piss me off something bad all the time. It was, and Johnny knows this. It was bad. This past year, he took them from like 26th in scoring defense to 5th in 1 year.
Dude, no other Packers DC was going to get this close with Jordan Love. I mean, people don't realize how much Aaron Rodgers meant to that organization. Yeah. I mean, there was time. It's a different podcast for a different day, but on the count of 3, say your favorite. On the count of 3, me and Corey and the chat all say your favorite defensive coordinator of all time. 1, 2, 3. Jeff Halfley. It's everybody's. He is just the man. Like, I wouldn't let my wife around Jeff Halfley. I mean, that's like Lacey.
Like, I get it, honey. I get it.
Yeah. Look, Lacey already just said yes in the chat. She knows how the ladies feel about Jeff Halfley's defenses are that good.
And but I tell you, again though, if the board of directors at Ohio State or whatever, they said, okay, you know what, whatever the blank check for Halfley, I'd be like, do it, Ryan, do it. It's like, well, yeah, but the whole staff's gonna leave. I don't care.
Yeah, sorry.
And I love Laurinaitis, but I'd be like, dude, if you can't stick around with Halfley, then go. I don't care.
Right.
But Halfley's
those kind of defensive coaches would be over the moon to work for that guy.
Of course. I mean, probably even Larry would be like, all right, I guess I'll get my Metamucil out for another freaking year and get going.
I mean, last time Larry and Jeff were together, they had a pretty good
magic.
They had a pretty good run.
There was magic. But I mean,
cyborgs helped, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Chase Young being ridiculous kind of helped.
Yeah.
But that being said, moving over to the defensive side, we talked about the offensive side. We don't know what's going to happen there just yet, but the reports are so far are heartline. You know what? Forget that. But before we go defense, let's talk about offensive line coach. There's a few candidates out there. We didn't talk about this because offensive line coach we talked about Kevin Wilson, but what if they
Yeah.
just go with a regular offensive line coach? I mean, there's Jim Haddard at Utah. I think his name's Haddard. No, it's not Haddard. What is his name? Jim something at Jim H. I know that.
Yeah.
Not Jim Harbaugh, but Jim H. At Utah. Who's
Dude, listen, being an offensive line coach expert in the NCAA is not a level of football fanhood I've reached yet.
That's
You're
fair.
a real savant if you know all these guys.
Well, there's Eric Wolford, there's Joe Rudolph, there's guys that they like, they like. All right, we'll move over to defense. Forget it. Offensive line coach, we'll see what they do. But
yeah, I will just say, if you get a good guy whose track record is proven, cool.
Yeah, please don't get a GA.
Yeah. Don't no internal promotions. I put it this way: if you find the best OC coach in the MAC and you know he's the best, like he's sustainable, bring him up. Like that's kind of where I am with that.
Yeah, I mean, and just don't. I mean, it was a safe hire, Tim Jerebno. He was a former Wolverine, by the way. But anyway, that being said, I think Eric actually in his podcast brought up a good point. Tim's more of a West Coast guy. I could definitely see him going to Las Vegas.
Real quick before we move, I did see
Harding. That's his name. Sorry, go ahead.
I did see Dylan every day on Twitter saying you have to move forward, you have to move back. Ed Werner, offensive line coach, he doesn't get a headset. He can't talk to you about the play.
That's what he'd be in the headset. Okay, guys, you know what I think? Everybody be like, "Shut up!" Or who gave him a headset? What idiot? Okay, but all right, let's talk about defense. I mean, the rumor was that Randy Bates looked like he was going to be the guy. Haven't heard his name all day, but allegedly it looks like he may have gotten offered the job. What do you think if Randy Bates is the next defensive coordinator with Matt G as the co-DC?
I love it. I think it's awesome. I would want it to be more Randy's and Matt's just again, if you I don't even think you need to do that to pay him anything because he was just safeties coach, but if you feel like you're going to have to, and you just got money burning a hole in your pocket, that's fine. But Bates, absolutely, I'm on board. I did not take the time to look up where his stats ranked while he was, but I know he's at Northwestern. Northwestern was always surprisingly good on defense, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and for the talent, for the talent they had, loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Jay, I'm not sure that's going to happen.
Yeah,
I'd take it.
Yeah, no, we're not pulling people down. Not when they have to contend with recruiting in the NIL. But and then again, over at he coached under Pat Narduzzi at Pitt. And think about this, guys. Remember when a lot of people know, but some people don't. Pat Narduzzi was the defensive coordinator at Michigan State in the early 2000 teens when they were dog tough on defense, and they would upset us at times, or that would be a bigger game on the calendar.
He and D'Antonio were frustrating.
Yeah. Zach Smith even says they had while it was D'Antonio and Narduzzi together, I think it was, they had a rule because they would do it with these recruits that were all three. There were not these big name recruits at all. So Ohio State put in a rule. If Michigan State offers a kid on defense, you immediately go look at him.
That's a compliment right there.
Yes. If for Urban Meyer, and that's a classic Urban thing to be like, we're going to do things at the top level, no matter if it's unorthodox. And if he's a Narduzzi guy, which that means Bates is the DC at Pitt under Narduzzi as the head coach. That makes me, that's almost Jim Knowles 2.0, except I feel like the system may be not as strange to learn as far as good at their job, right? So you can pick up right away. I mean, that's exactly the kind, I'm all for it, dude. I am all for it because It has to be a good hire. Don't get me wrong. I just feel like that's a great name. This is because the defense replaces so many. Man, Corey, they replace so much, and not
Mhm.
just any guys. Where half of them go to the league, half of them go to sell insurance or own a bookstore. No, it's like all of them are going to the league. You have to replace all top notch player. So
A little bit
so
of history lesson there from Steely.
Oh, I was ranting and I didn't even see that. But yeah, I'm all about it, man. Randy Bates is the type of hire, just like we were talking about OC. Somebody's good at their job elsewhere, go get him.
Yeah, if I can't have Jeff Halfley, and I can't, Spags would be great. I'd love Spags from Kansas City, but that ain't happening. So Randy Bates seems like a reasonable option. I mean, is he too? Is he too comfortable at Pitt? He's 64. I know he's an OSU alum. He's been there forever. Narduzzi will never fire him ever.
No,
Uh,
gosh.
eh, I mean, and so it's like, does he go to Ohio State where he wants to finish his career? Because look, at Pitt, you're not going to compete for a national title. Let's be completely real. Again, zero
Huh?
respect, zero respect to that program. They're not
You
going to.
you sure?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I bought a $15 50-yard line ticket to watch Pitt versus UNC while I was at a work trip in Pittsburgh. 10 rows up.
I
So
remember that actually.
yeah, you do. Yeah. So I was like, hey, I'm at this run. We had a running back transfer to North Carolina, and he played that day.
Antonio Williams.
Well, yes, that is the
Yeah,
one. Yep. But yeah, Pitt's not. If you can get a $10, $15 50-yard line ticket, you're not
yeah.
winning a title.
No, and they again, they're always going to be a solid team with Narduzzi. They are solid, but Bates, I'd be like, dude, you want to come to Ohio State, make more money, finish where you are an alum, you get the best defensive players in the country to coach, and and it's like, in days pretty much just tell you it's your defense, have at it, and you get Larry Johnson to work with if he stays. I don't know if Larry Johnson's retiring or not. I don't think he will, but who knows? Um, Big Fangio would also be a great pick, by the way. I just don't
Yeah.
think he'll ever come to college. But again, and then you say you got Laurinaitis, an up and coming linebacker coach that you could work with. I mean, and Matt G and Tim Walton in the secondary, and you just take Jim Knowles' spot essentially, and you're going to get paid $2.5 million. I would give him $1 more than Knowles is getting at Penn State, just to be
You
a just
know, it's all funny money at this point. Like, I
yeah,
think what Penn State paid Knowles is absurd
yeah.
because you're not going to get to do that for both coordinators. And the other side of the ball is what they need to work on. But put it this way, Randy Bates makes just under $1 million at Pitt. I
Oh,
gotta think that's the ceiling at a school like Pitt for a coordinator. You're making $950 for a coordinator at Pitt. Like, man, that shows how much. Think that shows how much they like him and want to keep him. I mean, I think you can pay him 1.8 and get him over, and he probably doesn't look to move on.
I think you just go ahead and give him $2 million. Say, make it too good for him to refuse, and just come on to Ohio State, dude. Come home, and there are dudes you can cry about it because he cries about a lot of things. But that I don't know. I like the Bates hire. I don't know. We have some Buckeye fans who were against it, but I get it because it's not a sexy hire. It's not like flashy. It's just a safe. I don't want to say safe hire, but it's more of a status quo hire, and I'm okay with that because Jim Knowles set a pretty good status quo. If he can keep Jim Knowles' level of defense or even close to it,
Yeah,
I'm not going to complain. And plus 64, he ain't going to be a head coach anywhere. It ain't like,
right.
hey, dude, the Akron job just opened up. Wow, all
And I don't
right.
think like the way we were not supposed to lose Knowles
No,
because he didn't want to be a head coach, and you're not supposed to move. People say it's lateral by
it's
definition,
not
yeah,
lateral.
but it's not, man. It's not. Ryan Day taking the head coach job at Texas A&M tomorrow is not a lateral move.
No,
That is
they have a
backward at
ton of
this
money,
point.
but it's not a lateral.
It's
Yeah,
backward at this point. By definition, yeah, go read an encyclopedia and quit listening to podcasts then, if you're a definition guy. It is backward. And I don't think I'm just saying, I think Bates 60-year-old coordinators are safe hires.
Yeah.
What happened with Knowles is not the norm, and I don't
Oh,
think will be the norm.
and I don't foresee a situation with Bates and Day where it kind of ends badly, like it kind of did with Knowles. I mean, at least
Yeah.
if you piece together the rumors.
Yeah.
I mean, I did my last week's show on it because I had to get it off my chest. But yeah, I mean, and I'm not going to root against Fry. I'm not going to root against Kelly. I'm going to root against Knowles every chance I get now because of how that ended. So I hope Penn. The thing about Penn State, and we talked about this, so it's like, dude, they're just trying to keep the status quo on their defense because he's not going to improve from the fourth best defense in the country, you know, especially when you just lost Abdul Carter, you know.
Right.
So it's not going to improve your defense. So it's just like, okay, you're trying to keep this. You're paying a lot of money to keep the status quo. We have to do the same. We can't let up on defense. We can't have a mediocre defense.
Mm-mm.
It has to be in that top 15 range. It has to be.
And it's got to be a good guy because these are a lot of first time. You're going to have 8 first-time starters.
Yeah.
That's not easy,
Yeah.
dude. I mean, Jeff Hafley would have his work cut out. I mean,
Yeah.
I know he would, but we know the magical powers of Hafley would have him number 1 total defense by the end of the year, and they'd probably never give up a single yard after 6 games, but it would be a tough first 6 games.
They would average like 5 points a game. It'd be tough.
Yeah.
But no, but I mean, yeah, anybody's going to have their work cut out for them a little bit. We have talent, but that's another issue. It's like when people talk about we're trying to win the Natty again next year. I got news for you. This is my therapy session for tonight.
Ooh.
We have a very extremely slim shot at repeating. It's slim as all get out, and it's getting harder by the day. Because if you're planning on repeating next year, you keep hope springs eternal, I guess. But we have too
we
many
would
question
need a
marks.
really good spring transfer portal.
Yeah, exactly. And you still, I mean, your defensive line is all unproven. Yeah, all unproven.
4 new starters. I'm like 8 new starters on defense.
Yeah, and Sonny Styles, the only linebacker you got coming back that's got significant playing time. Caleb Downs and David Igbinosun.
Igbinosun just committed another penalty, as we were recording this.
On the same drive. But and then you go. Of course, do you really know that Bryce West and Aaron Scott Jr. are and Jermaine Matthews? I mean, I think Matthews has proven it is proven for that starting role. But do you know that these guys are ready to fill in those rotational roles? Do you know McLean's ready to fill in next to Downs? Because Lathan Ransom's kind of a loss.
Yeah.
So do we know that? Do we know the
Malik
offense?
Hartford's an every down guy,
Yeah, I mean, go back and go to offense. Do we know Julian Sands the truth? Do we know that Peoples and Donaldson could? I'm going to go ahead and say it. They cannot pick up where. Yeah. Okay. No. I mean, we still got the receiving core, but Max Blair is going to be great for the tight end. But do we know that? And on Wayne, whatever his name is, Ethan Onwenya or whatever, is going to be a good left tackle. Do we know that? Do we know the left tackle position is solidified? Do we even know who's going to be coaching him? So, I'm just saying, there's too many question marks to think we're going to repeat. I'm just trying to build a new foundation for 26 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Sand gets a year under his belt. He can become the guy. Maybe we got Jeremiah Smith another year, and Caleb Downs will be gone, unfortunately. Caleb Downs is going to have his work cut out next year. He's going to be carrying that defense. So you need a guy who could right the ship and who's got a ton of experience in Randy Bates next year and who will go forward and continue to be your D coordinator and do a solid job. He doesn't have to be the best in the world like Hafley, but he needs to do a solid job. And I think he definitely can. But I was on board with the idea of just slipping Matt G into there. Now I'm off that train completely. I don't want Matt G to be the D coordinator.
No training wheels, like you said.
Well, if you're going to do Heartline, you can't do G.
You can't.
You can't have them both.
No. Yeah. Well, the proving ground, gentlemen.
Exactly. All right, guys. This is the Ohio State. This is the best training facility in all of college football.
You would need a Winston Churchill World War D-Day level pre-prep speech to get those guys, up to par on that.
I mean, they're both 7 years old. I mean, I'm sorry.
I mean, again, it wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be responsible. And that's not going to happen. We know that. I mean, we know that's not going to happen. I mean, I, that's the good thing about this. Ohio State always seems, think about it, Corey, with Kerry Combs as the coordinator, we still won in 10 games. I mean, it's ridiculous how that graphic someone showed, it was like most weeks inside the AP top 25.
Yeah,
Since
it was
like
double everybody else.
the second place was miles behind us.
Mhm.
Yeah, we can't compete with the Alabamas of the world when it comes to championships, but I still say that's an anomaly of what that
Yeah,
run they went on. Is you're
I
never going to
I
see that
I
again.
think it's more Saban than
Yeah,
Alabama anyway. So yeah,
you're never going to see that again. But
I don't know. They got Ryan Grubb at a championship or bust now.
but what I'm saying is Ohio State, when it comes to just being like really good and not championships, has a bigger gap than Alabama does on everybody else. When if the standard was just being good, 10-win season, we have a bigger gap between us and second place than Alabama does in second place when it comes to championships. I hope I'm wording that right. Like
No,
there's
I get what you're saying. Yeah,
it's we are the if the gold standard when it comes to just being good year in and year out. You think it took an NCAA, debacle to bring us the one down year in our adult lifetime, Corey?
and I went to that bowl game that year because I hate myself.
You would.
It was in Florida. I got a chance to see the
Yeah, you
Buckeyes,
had to go. Yeah,
and
yeah,
I got to see Braxton Miller just miss wide open guys all day. It was awesome. And I'm not knocking Brad. I love Braxton, but my goodness, Devere Posey was just sitting in the corner of the end zone like anytime today.
yeah,
Nobody's
yeah.
within 20 yards of me.
It was
Uh,
tough. It was a tough learning.
Steely's pointing out some games here about the schedule next year. This is why you have to get these coaching hires right.
Yeah,
You could potentially look, Day hasn't proven that he'll do this yet because he's always in that 10-11 win range in the regular season, but you could see 9-3 next year easily. You got Texas. I'm not even convinced they'll beat Michigan yet until they do.
I mean,
And you
Day's
got
lost 2 regular season games twice, so yeah.
and on top of that, you got Penn State, which figures to be a good challenge. Illinois is tough.
I think it's at Champaign too.
Yeah, exactly. And you got at Wisconsin. And I know Wisconsin hasn't been great, but it's still at Camp Randall, and it's their Super Bowl most likely. Texas, obviously. I mean,
Game 1 is Texas.
I know.
Game 1 is tough. I don't care who you play.
I'm just and look, and I know Texas is breaking in a new quarterback too, but Arch Manning's got a lot more game experience than Julian Sand does. So, I'm not optimistic we even make the playoff next year. I am going to say that I hope we do, and Ryan Day, if he pulls it off, and with a new staff essentially and new key players at key positions everywhere. If Ryan Day gets into the Big Ten title game or beats Michigan and gets into the playoff, I'll be like, dude, this dude's this guy's the best coach in the country.
I do think, 12's awful deep. And maybe it's because I'm so spoiled that we're never worse than that, ever, ever. That I feel Wise Dan brought up a good point when we expanded to 12 playoffs. I was completely against it. And well, it turned out to be awesome for Ohio State after the first. Go, Johnny.
That's why we call him Wise Dan.
Yeah. Wise Dan said, guys, it's good for Ohio State is because we will never not make it. You go 12 deep, we're never not making that. And I was thinking, it doesn't matter because if you're not a minimum top 6 by the end of the year, you're not good enough to go on a run. Well, once again, you can have your worst performance and then follow it up by your 4 best back to back to back to back. Who knows? Who knew? But yeah, I think Big Ten championship. People aren't going to like this, but barring an amazing spring transfer portal, I think Big Ten championship and 1 playoff win might be the ceiling.
What do you think we need to see in the spring portal to get us to that competitive level that we need to be?
I would say 1 or 2. a corner, starting corner, or a starting safety that's out of this. That's really like. I mean, you can't say Caleb Downs.
Yeah, that's a once in a generation type guy.
But something like that.
You could get close to a Lathan Ransom, maybe.
You could get the thing. You could get like a senior level Lathan is really good, but something like that. I do think this might be unpopular. I think you need a better running back to go on a championship run. You need a better running back.
I'm a little concerned about that too. I mean, I think Peoples is look good at times.
He's fine, but yeah,
I haven't seen anything special out of him.
Yeah,
like I mean, look, Trevion his first year, we were like, oh, this dude's the real deal. Holy crap, So.
I think you need a secondary defender, one at minimum. I think you need a running back, and
D-line depth's another good one.
Yeah, and a dominant pass
rusher. But we don't rotate him anyway, so who cares?
Yeah. A dominant pass rusher, a running back, and a secondary piece. I think I go, oh, well, maybe. And then I'm like,
we really need Kenyatta Jackson next year to be the dude.
We do. And I'm not saying like people could get better over time. And now with 12-team playoff, you don't even have to be at your peak towards late in the season. But
you can't lose 3 games until then.
Yeah, when JTT, and I never like JTT, I was like, he's not that like dominant. He's good. Don't want to get me wrong. I want him out there. But when JTT was out with the rolled ankle for half a game, and what was that, Texas? And Kenyatta was in. You noticed, like JTT was.
You had to get held for them to even get a pass off.
Anchor in the run game too. He was a really good. He's the one that stuffed the first down call, first and goal in Texas that changed the whole series. I maintain that changed the whole series, and like that worries me a little about Kenyatta. Again, people can get way better. He's built like Chase Young. He's huge, but it's got to get there.
Because I don't see anybody on the roster who has that potential like Kenyatta to be like a 10, 12 sack kind of guy. I think Caden Curry's more like a 4 to 6 sack kind of guy, and I think CJ Hicks playing on the edge will be a little interesting, but it'll be interesting to see what we do there. It's just there's so many question marks. I mean, quite frankly, when we went into last season, we had nowhere near this amount of question marks. I mean, question mark was quarterback, but Will Howard answered that in spades. I'm not saying some of these questions won't be answered, but that being said, I mean, maybe Peoples comes out, he loses 15 pounds, and all of a sudden he's fast again, So I don't know.
I mean, would you like Cory? You're as doubtful as anyone, and I don't mean doubtful in a bad way. I just mean like
Houston's going to be great next year. That's the one guy I don't have any questions about. That guy.
Yeah, but He's not going to be. He's not going to be.
From a 3 tech, he's not going to have 10 sacks. No.
Yeah, and is he going to be Dramont Jones as a 3 tech? Probably not. This first year starting, Well,
he could be close. He's pretty talented. I think he's more talented than Dramont was.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. This Edric's a freak. Yeah.
Yeah. I would have just thought we would have seen it more if that were the case this year, but it could be.
He was tossing people around this year. I mean, even as a freshman.
Yeah. Well,
they were showing on Twitter. I saw a bunch of people pointing out highlights like, look at this guy just manhandle him, and like in the run game, he was excellent in the run game.
Well, it could be. It could be wrong. I'm never wrong, but it could be. And so he'll be good. But like Cory, you're as realistic as anyone on this team. If you went and got a guy that had 8 sacks in Power 5 football last year, and put him on the D line, and you got a really solid secondary piece, then you got a really solid running back, would you go, yeah, things will have to go right, but you can win a title with that team?
I'd say you'd fare better. I don't know about title yet, but because again, quarterback's too much of a.
But you just think I said things will have to go right, but like Will Howard was begging for spare change under Manhattan bypass last year, so things will have to go right? But
yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, but Will Howard is still a 5th-year starter. And he had a lot of experience. Sayan has no experience.
He doesn't. But when it's all like
Sayan's more talented than Will.
Yeah, they're not in the same stratosphere when it comes to at least high school ball acumen.
I mean, even Penn State didn't want Will Howard, so that was
He
that
would have
true?
been the best. That version. What's ironic, and I hated that he didn't have that good of a game against Penn State.
Mhm.
But what is ironic is that senior year, but more so, well, I don't know, more so that playoff run
Mhm.
is better than any quarterback play Penn State has ever had, ever. And that is just sweet to me. That is just beautiful and sweet that they didn't want him. And he came to Ohio State and put on the, like, has a man ever been maximized like Will Howard got maximized, brother?
That's
Like
part Ryan Day and part Will Howard himself putting in the work, you know?
that would be, I mean, that's just about as sweet as watching a Penn State fan cry as they watched Terrell Pryor run all over defenses. It's like you just couldn't have him, could you, buddy?
I'm gonna answer this question, but I don't know who will be lights out. I think Texas will be good. I
Texas will
don't
be good.
I don't
Texas and Oregon seem to be the two heavy favorites for Natty, I think.
Oregon I don't get because again, they have a worse quarterback situation than us. Um, like Dante Moore sucked at UCLA.
He wasn't good.
I
He
remember when they were talking about him
wasn't
transferring to
good.
Ohio State. I was like, please God, no.
Didn't he? I'm pretty sure no, it might have been Cam Ward that actually led the country in turnovers, but at
Yeah,
Washington. But I'm pretty sure Dante Moore, yeah, it was bad. It was like 49% completion
yeah, he was
percentage.
terrible. I mean, to go. I mean, look, I'm not saying he can't get better, but going into the season with him going, oh yeah, we're natty or bust, baby. I'd be like, no, I just hope we do well this year. Holy crap. I mean, again, I mean, Texas, I think with Arch Manning will be really formidable. Um, I think Arch is a really good up and coming quarterback. I really
Yeah.
do.
Well,
But
Corey, I think that answers your question with Oregon, why they're heavy up there, because they can have that big of a question. No one, since NIL has brought so much parity, no
yeah,
one has like,
nobody's. I mean, like until our playoff run, nobody was goofy dominant last
yeah,
year. And all of a sudden, then we go to the playoffs, and all of a sudden, it's like, okay, this is the best roster in the country. Holy
yeah.
smokes! Um,
I have
but
some faith in Kirby Smart just because of recent history. Not this year,
he's
but
he's a
but I have
great
faith
coach. Yeah,
that like something can get done there.
yeah. I mean, they they have a lot of speed on the racetrack anyway.
they they are adrenaline junkies down in the Hellcats driving their Chargers down in Georgia. He's brought everything over from Saban, hasn't he?
So getting kids out of trouble,
Yeah.
paying off judges. Yeah, he's done everything. He learned. He got the playbook. Man, well, John, we're about past an hour here, man. So usually I go about an hour, but it's been such a blast having you on here, dude. I
Oh, it's
can't
good
even
to be
tell you.
back. Yeah, I
And we
apologize to the chat. They probably didn't like it, but dude, we got up to 84 on Twitter. That's pretty cool.
we were at 113 total, so I don't know what it's going to be by final numbers. But hey, I'm happy to do the show. Dude, I'm going to say it right now publicly so everybody hears it. You are welcome back any freaking time. I don't care, any Monday. If you want, hey Corey, I want to talk about tulips. I'll be like, all right, let's talk about tulips. Fine.
Well, I will say this, and a shout out to Eric. Last time he had me on was right after that team up north game.
Mhm.
And I said, and I have if you see the Scarlet and Gray Instagram, go follow that guy's been doing a lot of good trolling on there lately. That's picking up. But if I said on here, and I put it on the, like, after that game, I said, listen, 85% of your touches should go to Quinchon, Trey, Jeremiah, and Emeka. And then I even said, that's how you get the wide open passes to G. Scott Jr. and stuff. And then you see it was like the first play from scrimmage in the Rose Bowl. G. Scott gets 30 yards because you fake a bubble. And Eric jumped to Eric's like, you can run so many things off that. And the Buckeyes did like just what he said. They ran so many things off that. So I would say last time I was on here, good things ensued. We had some good moments on the show. It was a lot of fun.
So now that you're on here, that means Joe Moorhead's going to be our offensive coordinator.
Listen, Buckeye Nation needs to get me a GoFundMe. If I come on the show, then we run the Natty, and then I come on here and we go get Randy Bates and Joe Moorhead. Like, y'all, owe me some, send it via super chats to the podcast, and they'll get it to me.
Got to get it to Johnny specifically. Hey guys, before we go, hit that like button. It helps the algorithm. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. The OHIO podcast here on YouTube. If you don't like seeing our faces, that's what Eric usually says. I'm gonna say you are blessed to see our faces. You are blessed by God Himself.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, folks. Anyway. Oh, appreciate you guys. Johnny, appreciate you. Appreciate y'all in the chat. Thank you for turning in tonight. This has been Buckeye Therapy with Cory. Dr. Cory, pretend doctor on YouTube, with special guest Johnny Lunsford, Johnny the Bullet. Johnny, like I said, anytime, man. Please come on. Appreciate you guys as always. As always, goodbye, God bless, and of course, go Bucks. OH.
Oh.